So Matt, I'll do the intro. Oh, here we go. I think it's 30 seconds. Okay, we are live. Thank you for joining the Shakedown Sports Podcast with the Shakedown crew here on YouTube live. We're also on Twitch via the Sports Beard channel. This is the last time we will be on that. We will be on the Shakedown platform going forward. We really appreciate it. Today we have joining us Matt Stopsky. Did I say that correctly?
You did.
Talent booker, NFL draft and college football recruiting analyst, and a producer for SiriusXM NFL. Former Shrine Bowl, PFF, and CBS Sports Radio contributor. So glad to have Matt today. Matt, thank you so much for taking some time out for the Shakedown.
Oh, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
All right. And let me bless the show as we usually do. Welcome, Big Blue Nation, sports fans all over the world. Welcome to the Shakedown, the show for the fans, by the fans. And I'm your host, Shakes. I got my co-host Nacho with me. I got Sports Beard with me, and special guests, like my man said, Matt Stopsky, joining us and stopping by. What's going on, brother?
Dude, not much. Not much until about 5 minutes ago. I saw the Giants are firing a lot of their front office staff today. So, unfortunate. Wasn't their fault what happened the last few years. The decisions get made by guys above them. And unfortunately, this is there's Black Monday for coaches. This is the Black Monday for personnel guys. So I'll pour some out for those guys.
Question about that, Matt. What is the significance of the Giants letting those front office personnel go, and how long have some of those folks been there?
Some of it for a long time.
Okay,
for a long time. The significance is, I would say they had a pretty good draft this year. I really liked it. A lot of those guys were instrumental into this draft. So you hate to see it happen. On the other hand, you also understand when you're a new boss, if you want a full culture change, unfortunately, you have to get rid of the old culture, and that means get rid of the guys. Now, it's easier said than done. It's also easy to say that, but these are people's lives, unfortunately. So that really sucks.
Yeah, it really does. Okay, so we got a few more co-hosts that should be stopping by. I hope that they're making the time. But first question, Shakes Montana here, of course. First question is, how do you feel about Kayvon Thibodeau, and how do you feel about Evan Neal, the first round draft picks that we had chose?
I would say I love Thibodeau. I think he might be the best edge of all of his peers in this class. He was the only one that had the right combination of athletic ability, length, and production. Everyone was about Aiden Hutchinson. Hutchinson's great, but he lacked that length, only about 32-inch arms. And Walker lacked the production. Great athlete. Thibodeau combined it both. Now, I know there were some questions about his character, but I think there's a bull, honestly. I think he's going to be a great player for the Giants. Like, I'm repping the Giants shirt today, man. I think he's going to be awesome for Big Blue. And for Neal, to me, I liked him the most. He was the most balanced of the top tackles. There's still a lot of work for him to do to be an elite offensive tackle, but he wasn't just a run blocker, wasn't just a pass blocker. He also played right tackle, which is where he's going to play at the next level. So I love both those picks.
Okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of Giants fans are super excited about Kayvon Thibodeau. I wouldn't have been myself. I would not have been sad if Jermaine Johnson was one of their picks, but it just felt like they were picking that high. They had to take the chance. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
We got Nacho in the box with cheese. Go ahead, Nacho.
Hey, Stopsky, I know we did talk about Giants, but can we switch to later in the draft? The two picks, the team behind me here, 22 and 28, Devontae Wyatt and Quay Walker. Can you tell me how you feel about that addition to the Green Bay Packers there, adding to that defense?
You say you're a Packer fan, right?
Quay Walker, man, he's an outstanding athlete, man. Great coverage guy, great blitzing specialist. And that's what the linebackers are becoming, right? In these days, it's not those old school thumpers. It's these great athletes, and Quay Walker really fits that mold. So I think Green Bay got a great one there. And then no, why I like a lot. I don't think he was as good as Jordan Davis in terms of the production level, but he was pretty solid. So I think overall Green Bay is got a pretty good draft. And the best thing about Wyatt, there were talks about him going as high as like 12 at one point. So I think they got some great value where they got him. So hats off. Not as good as the Giants, but still hats off.
Thank you. We can switch back there. That was just a preliminary. I wanted to get your quick thoughts on that. But of course, the biggest thing for the Giants fans this past weekend was the first pick there in the second round, the Wan'Dale Robinson one. And I think to alleviate some fans' minds, do you feel as if that was the biggest reach or a huge reach? How do you feel about that? Comparatively speaking to the rest of the draft that they had.
Yeah, it was a reach. It was definitely a reach. He's probably a gadget player. Like, he is a poor man's Kadarius Toney. Because he has that after the catch ability that Toney has, but Toney's a way more polished route runner. I think he's more explosive. He's a better athlete. But it also kind of seems like they picked him because Toney may not be on the roster much longer. So that seemed like that may have been a reach out necessity. Probably not. Probably wasn't that necessary to do that, but I understand why they did it.
Matt, you said that Toney may not be on the roster. Is that I've heard work ethic questions with him. Is that it doesn't feel like he lacks the ability. It's just maybe the desire to be an NFL player.
When he was coming out, I talked to some people that were close to him. Listen, I know he's a baller. I know he wants to play. And I don't know what happened. If maybe like there's just some miscommunications between the coaching staff and him, and just some personalities don't mesh well together. It could just be as simple as that. And I know he's does not lack personality. So if they didn't mesh well, that could just be it.
So you think this is more about the previous regime with the previous coaching staff than it is with what we have going on today in New York Giant land?
Well, I think it's a bit of both. I think the previous regime probably knew him, liked him, and then this new regime may not want someone who's got this big personality who hasn't really done a whole lot yet. Obviously you could tell he's already kind of demanding things that you're seeing from like AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel, and hasn't really produced at that level yet. So that could rub a new organization the wrong way. But again, this is all speculation. I just know he's got a lot of personality, so this might be like this is definitely, it's not productive or a talent issue. That I know for sure.
Okay, so Matt, PFF, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to give you a PFF kind of question here.
Okay.
My personal opinion,
Sure.
I like Kayvon Thibodeau with his hand in the dirt. Can you break down success rate between him with his hand in the dirt or him standing up? Are you able to break that down for me?
I don't have the exact numbers, but I would agree with you. I think he's better when he's going straight out, not working as an outside linebacker, working in that kind of space. I like him just going straight into the offensive lineman and making a move. So I haven't seen the numbers. That would be I could definitely a question for Mike or Austin. I'm sure they have that. I don't think they post that publicly anywhere. But I would say just from watching the film, I would agree with you.
Yeah, just eye test. Me and you see the same thing then. Because I had a little debate with my compadres about that, and they're like, no, stand him up. But I'm like, man, he does work when his hands in the dirt.
Oh, so, yeah. Not that he can't do it. He absolutely can do it.
Right.
But I think as an aggressive edge defender like him, especially who can make some serious moves, I want him just going straight. I want him just attacking. I don't want him having to read or do anything. Just get upfield. Just beat the guy in front of you and go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just read. Sorry, Shakes. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go. No. Go.
I was just surprised that the Giants hadn't drafted a defensive end since JPP. I read that or heard that today and was blown away. As I've been a Giants fan for 40 years and was like, really? That was the last guy we drafted in the first round was JPP, and he ended up being pretty good. So I feel like if we get JPP level production from Kayvon Thibodeau, that's probably a win. I think ultimately we don't know with this draft, right? We always say, oh, the Jets had a good draft or the Eagles had a good draft or the Ravens had a great draft, but you never know. You never know what can happen, right? All these things are up. The players got to go out and perform, and so it's exciting. I think the draft was a huge success. Did you cover it live in? Were you in Vegas for the draft? Or
no? So I traveled so much this year. I was in Vegas for the Shrine Bowl because I was working the game. By the time it got to draft weekend, I just called it a day. I was like, no, I just want to relax, drink some beer, and just watch the draft and enjoy it. I had the option to, but I just didn't feel like it wasn't worth it at this point. Also, I never been to a draft live, which is weird because it's the only event I haven't been to or at least worked around. And when it was at Radio City Music Hall, I was like, oh, I'll just go because I live in New York. This seems like that'd be an easy one. Since it's moved around, I haven't really felt the need to go because I don't honestly the picks are great, but I was watching the ESPN broadcast for a while and I had to turn it off because it got kind of boring. I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch an analysis broadcast. I turned on the PFF broadcast and watched that. I was like, man, imagine just standing there for 4 hours having to deal with the ESPN broadcast, but even less commentary. Could be a little rough.
Little dull there.
We have a new guest, one of our co-hosts
from the Bronx.
What's going on, man? I figured I'd come on looking tired of pretty cool today, take away the imagery of my sadness over that second round pick, but I got over it. What's going on, guys?
What's up?
Good to see you, E.
I know. I see you looking at my hat, Bid. No, you cannot have it.
I'm good, man.
All right, man. Either Chosen from the Bronx, you got a question for PFF's Matt Stopsky?
Absolutely, man. First of all, brother, I want to thank you for being with us today, man, and taking this time out. I am one of those guys where I ask layered questions, something that you've not unfamiliar with. So, for the draft, what exactly are the rankings for the New York Football Giants from a PFF standpoint, but from a personal standpoint? How do you feel about our draft?
I think the PFF guys had him ranked pretty high. It was up there as one of the best ones. Personally, I thought our draft and the Jets draft, I thought were up there as one of the best drafts. I would say the Jets, the Giants, and the Ravens probably had probably the best weekend. I think the PFF guys, they do as a staff, I think they had it pretty high. So I think it was either the first tier or the second tier of draft.
Okay.
Because they don't do it by rankings anymore. So
okay.
We'll think about that. If you look on any of the PFF stuff, it doesn't get ranked 1 through 32 because they rank all 32 teams. So if you rank a team 32nd, you get a phone call from that 32nd.
We're not 32nd. We're all right.
You're paying all that money. Why are we 32?
Right. So
it's only tiers now.
I want to know why a guy like Darren Beavers, right? First of all, I want to know where you guys had him ranked, right? And I want to know why a guy like Darren Beavers dropped so far, even though I'm not mad at the steal because I believe it's a steal for us. I just want to know, according to PFF grades and where he was, ranked, why did he drop that far?
Good question. I don't know why he dropped as far as he did. I think Mike and Austin had him ranked pretty high. So I'm not part of that process anymore. In terms of that, I left the company doing the Shrine Bowl stuff this year.
Okay.
But I think Mike and Austin, I still talk to those guys very regularly.
Right.
They had him very high. I also had him very high. He was a consensus third round pick. For most people. He's a great blocker. I think great blitzer, great stack and cheddar. I think the issue for him was he didn't test super well, in terms of speed. The sideline to sideline wasn't really there. He was quick. He had the right size and everything, but he didn't have that sideline to sideline speed. And his instincts were he was pretty average on his instincts. And as a linebacker, if your instincts are only average and your speed is only average, you look slow because you're reacting late and then you're going late. So I think that may have been the issue. But I think what makes this kid really good is that I think he's pretty versatile. I think he can play inside or outside in any scheme, 3-4 or 4-3. He can rush the passer and be next to be behind Thibodeau if he had to. So again, that'd probably be the only reason I could think of for why he dropped. But It was a hell of a steal. It might be one of the best picks of the draft.
Absolutely. I believe this, and I'll stay with Darren Beavers. I think guys like him, who we see, sometimes people may feel lack instincts or certain traits or sideline to sideline speed. I think he's a collective guy. He plays in a system that fits his best attributes, where he can be a part of gang tackle and not getting caught in the wash, hitting the A or B gap, getting to a quarterback on a blitz or a stunt. I think those are his attributes, and that's why he was chosen by us, because we will have Thibodeau, we will have Ojulari, we will have Leonard Williams, Dexter Lawrence, and those guys occupying the line of scrimmage. So with a healthy Blake Martinez, barring whatever he is when he does come back, and also having a Tay Crowder, who I might think is also on that Mitch McFadden may exceed expectations and replace him. Having a Mitch McFadden or a Tay Crowder next to a guy like Darren Beavers, if he is our weak side, I think I think Wink Martindale will find his best attributes and allow him to contribute from day one.
I agree. I think if he's playing the will, I think he'd be a day one starter at the will, without a doubt. This kid's a 5-year player at Cincinnati, so he's got experience. And if you're playing the will, you don't have to have that same quickness or quick instincts as you do as a Mike
Right.
or a Sam. So if you're playing the will, that's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I do believe he's a system linebacker, and he'll flourish with the guys that are more talented around him.
Yeah, I agree.
So keeping it on Michael McFadden, right? Looking at Michael McFadden, and I have another question for you after that. But Michael McFadden, does he remind you of Blake Martinez in your opinion? Because that's what I'm seeing.
That's a great comp. I honestly didn't think about that comp until you just said it, but that's actually that's a very good comp. He has the same limitations. I think Blake has gotten better in coverage over the past few years. McFadden, to me, although has the athleticism to be good in coverage, he just gets lost in space too much, especially in zone if he starts to drop back and play obviously not deep middle, but play more like that deeper part of the underneath middle. You can kind of see it. He gets too much space and he's just moving around and he gets a little lost. But yeah, that's a good comp. I think that's a great comp.
Okay, so my real question really is, we've been waiting 10 years for this moment, right, E? 10 years for this moment.
And 2 children.
We signed 5 offensive linemen in free agency, 5 or 6, give or take. And we drafted 3. Is the offensive line finally fixed, Matt?
No.
According to the grading system.
I would say it's very, very close, but
That's
Evan
good enough.
Neal is a rookie tackle. Linemen take 3 to 4 years to really hit that top of that bell curve to really understand what's going on in the NFL. You saw Andrew Thomas was awful year 1. Year 2 there's a massive step, and I expect that to continue. But what we're looking at right now is you have a few good pieces, a few pieces that are maybe questionable, and a rookie tackle.
Right.
So I would say maybe next year. I don't even think they have to add anybody. I think you just need a year of being together, maturing, and then yes. But I wouldn't expect to come out next year and be like, "Oh, this line is great." It's going to have its moments where it struggles because it's just all, like I said, all new kids,
Right.
and one of your pillars being a rookie right tackle.
Absolutely. Sports Bear, you got anything for him?
Well, we have Black Freezy in the chat. I was going to bring him in. I just, I don't know if he's having some connection problems. Let's get him up in there. Black Freezy, you're on if you are available. I think I messaged you. Oh, he's on the road listening. He'll come back. I apologize. That's my bad.
Black Freezy.
No problem at all.
I'm
going to piggyback off my co-host's question, right? And like I said, I'm a layered guy. So I know Evan Neal is coming in as a rookie. We all do know. He's also top 3, they say pro ready, meaning as he's faced the comp, he's played in the powerhouse. We all know where he's from. So also being the powerhouse, you play against the powerhouse teams. One thing that I would like to know is they try to not give him a a mulligan on his pass blocking, right? They try to say, well, his pass blocking may not be the best. But where did you guys have him ranked for pass blocking? Because that's something I do not know.
I have to check where they had him ranked. I would say though, his issues were pretty apparent, especially with his balance and his weight. He would keep his weight over his feet very often. Would keep kind of
Right.
to go off balance, which is not that's not unusual, right? For young linemen
Right.
to even someone who are just these like bulldozers of men to just want their weight forward. That's something he will fix. His grade, if I remember correctly, wasn't excellent, but I'd have to check where they did have him ranked.
Okay.
In terms of their pass blocking grade, it wasn't. I could say just off the top of my head, it wasn't bad enough for me to remember, and it wasn't good enough for me to remember. It was right like in the middle where it's like, all right, this is not concerning, and it's not something you would want to hang your hat on.
Now, having Bobby Johnson and a new regime, as opposed to last year's regime, whose name we don't have to mention, right? Will that help him out a lot? Because from what we see, Bobby Johnson's like body of work is that he's a teacher. He's in the classroom and it translates on the field. Everywhere he's gone, like he commands the respect of the room for the offensive line, and he knows how to get them guys to galvanize, and he builds a camaraderie between them. So do you see that translating immediately for Evan Neal, or how long would you think it would take for him to catch grasp and become a talent on the field as well as in the classroom?
So I think when it comes to coaches, I don't think it has that much to do with the individual success of the player as it does the unit. So like a player might struggle because he's a rookie, but the unit might do well, right? I definitely see this unit being fine, even if Neal has a Andrew Thomas level bad rookie season. Will that happen? I hope not, because that was really bad. But I would say I'm the line coach, man. Even if you look at the best line coaches in the NFL, and then you look at their linemen, they're not all ranking like top 10 PFF grades or all pros. Like they might just be okay, but because the line coach is so good, he got those 5 pieces of work together, create one of the best lines. And that's where the coaching really comes in, not so much the will he accelerate his process, because it doesn't matter if you played 5 years at Alabama. When you go to the pros, there's always a learning curve.
Right. So I would like to say this lastly, and then of course my co-host could take it over. Like I said, I'm a bit layered, but we got your time, man, and I'm going to utilize it. So like you said, not every line has to have top 10 PFF grades, right? So when you said that, the first thing that came into my mind was the Indianapolis Colts' line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Colts, the Steelers, the Patriots at times. These are not us. The Cowboys were kind of an exception because they had like their individual spot. But most of these players, most of these lines that rank in the top 3 to 4 only have like maybe one true All-Pro caliber player, and the rest are just decent players, decent to good players. But it's the coaching that gets them all working together. So that's why I think this line isn't totally ready yet, because it's just, you bringing all these guys together who don't really know each other with a coach who hasn't worked with them yet. This is going to take time.
Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Real quick, I just wanted to, for people joining us late, this is Matt Stopsky. He's a current producer for SiriusXM NFL and a former PFF and CBS Sports Radio producer. He's been gracious enough to give us some time. So if you have any questions, we're probably waiting on a couple more hosts. They may or may not show. Matt, you can follow him at M Stopsky, Stopsky, on Twitter. Is there any other outlets that you would like to plug, Matt?
Yeah. So I started podcasting again. It's been a while. I've been a producer for so long, I just kind of forgot how to do it. So just kind of jumping back in there. First one was kind of rough, but the Up in Smoke Football podcast is now out. It's out every Tuesday. We're on episode 3 tomorrow. The first one was really good with Seth Galina of PFF, talk about quarterbacks. If you guys are love talk about the details of quarterback play, the specifics of mechanics and footwork, like that was a hell of a podcast with Seth. And then I talked to Eric Eager, the PFF's director of R&D, talking about the stable metrics, what they're working on. They got some really cool stuff over there. Like I know PFF as a whole gets a lot of love, but Eric Eager and George Ahuri, who are kind of the big brains over there, and now Timo Risky and Kevin Cole, they are the driving force behind experimenting and finding new things in the sport that we love. And just the work they do is awesome. Like, I'm talking about learning curves right now. Timo Risk did a whole article on position by position learning curves and how long it takes for each position to really hit their peak post draft. It's a great article, and sometimes it's stuff that we already knew, but they're able to quantify it, which
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay.
Matt, do you,
I would definitely
real
read
quick
that.
before Nacho goes, Matt, do you work in and out of New York City? I'm assuming. Yes, no.
Pre-COVID, I did. No, I was in and out of New York City. Sirius XM's office is in New York City. It's in Rockefeller Center. But since COVID, we have all of our like radio stuff here that I can do it all remotely. So now I'm just out on Long Island. I come in the city every now and then, though. I still love it.
Okay.
But you're still in the greater New York area, is what?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So one other small question before Nacho chimes in. So do you go and cover the Giants like kind of like a beat writer at times, and that's even though that's not your focus, or I'm just trying to get a feel for like your day to day.
No, so I this past year I was just a scout for in terms of just watching players for this upcoming Shrine game, which is the game that competes with the Senior Bowl. So I didn't really do any kind of beat work. The closest I ever came to doing beat stuff was when I worked the Giants Twitter account for PFF, and I worked with all the beat guys and ladies and provide them stats and do stuff. I never actually got to. That's a lie. I did one beat thing ever where I went to Landon Collins' charity softball game. I went to interview Snacks, and he wanted to go away. So that was about that's the entirety of my Beats career.
Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead, Nacho.
Yeah, I heard the little offensive line talk, and I was gone for a minute, so I hope I don't, ask a double question here. But with Joshua Ezeudu, and then I want to get this last name correct here, Marcus McKeithen, those two offensive linemen. Again, McKeithen in the later round there, so not so much you have to touch on him. But the Ezeudu pick, tell me the thought process there for a Joe Shane and a Brian Dable, and what will that bring offensively on the offensive line for the New York Giants there?
Well, Ezeudu, I think, is great because he's so versatile. They played him at both guard and tackle almost evenly at UNC. So that's a kid that's coming out there and not just playing, but excelling at both spots. He'll end up being a guard at the next level, but he does have some decent length. He's got some really good quickness, very good athlete. I would say honestly both these guys tested well, but Ezeudu's athleticism really shows up on the field. He moves to second level really well. It's just his issue is he doesn't recover super well, and his strength is kind of limited. But that's still good enough to be like the fifth lineman on an O-line, right? He could still be a left guard, a right guard, as long as he's not the pillar. Like we all know, like Will Hernandez was kind of like a limited player, right? Will Hernandez, fine guard if he's not the best O lineman on your line, right? If he's like the fourth or fifth best lineman, you're good. That's kind of like Ezeudu. Like he's limited. He's not going to anchor anything for you, but if you have an open spot, he can slide in and you'll be fine. McKeithen, not so much. Again, he tested well-ish, but he just doesn't have the agility or the balance to probably play at the next level. He's more of a depth piece than anyone else to the field, even though he has good size at like 6'6", 340.
Okay, so Matt, real quick, how long do we got you?
I can stay for another 10, 15 minutes, whatever you want.
Okay, good. All right, so you like my Blake Martinez comparison. How about this one? Dane Belton, right? Dane Belton is our new Jabril Peppers. And I'm going to tell you why. They line him up everywhere. He's run support, right? Physical guy, in the box guy. Do you see it?
I do see it. I think Austin Peppers, I think, was better because of how athletic he was. Not that Belton's not athletic; it's just Peppers was amazing. But he does play the same kind of spot. That
Joker
big
spot,
safety
right?
slot corner type player.
Joker,
Gonna be a lot of
linebacker.
kind of like what Love did, for a while. And Darnay Holmes, obviously, but much bigger than Holmes. But I think that's a good spot. That's a good comparison as well. And he's another one that I think maybe not year one, but he'll sit down and play and be productive on this Giants defense.
Absolutely. And then my one other question to lobby off of that. Everything that I've seen in this off season that we did, it's not to tell me that we want to be a pass based offense, but a run based offense. Would you agree with that?
I would say it's not so much that they want to be a run based offense, that they want to be a bit balanced, and also understanding that Daniel Jones is at his best as an athlete. You know what I mean? Like he's not his value as a passer doesn't make him the best quarterback, right? It's his added value as a runner. So if they have linemen that can create holes for him, I'm not saying they're going to have to run quarterback power with them, but they're giving him lanes where he can just go and run if it's straight man coverage and pick up 20 yards, as long as he doesn't trip and fall over himself again. They just want to be as balanced as possible. They also want to give Saquon Barkley a legit shot to do something, because Barkley has not had a real running lane in like 2 years. And what we've seen from him at Penn State, everyone loves to talk about the highlights.
I'm so happy you said that, man.
Yeah.
So many people don't understand what you just said. You just said, and let me repeat it, brother. I'm so sorry to jump in with the excitability. I can't help it. You just said Saquon Barkley has not had a real running lane in 2 years.
Yeah, it's been rough. It's been rough. And although Barkley is
Wow.
a generational athlete, he can't create his own holes. And we saw that at Penn State where he had 35 yards against Rutgers. Rutgers is not good, compared to Penn State, and he was still getting stuffed up because he needs a crease. He's not a guy that's gonna make his own holes like some other running backs.
Right.
So I think this will give him a legit shot to really do something. I also hope they use him more as a receiver, which for whatever reason, just the last few coaching staffs is don't want to let Barkley run a few routes, not so they gotta be deep routes, but just pass the line of scrimmage at least, and let him use that athletic ability to, and burn some linebackers. So, and then also just giving Daniel Jones a legit shot to sit back there and pass. Man, I feel like if Daniel Jones needs a hug, because he went from having just one of the worst O lines in Duke, where he was pressured under 2 seconds all the time, to coming to the Giants and getting pressured you got Nate Soldier and you got Andrew Thomas, who both in back-to-back years led the league in pressures allowed. It's dude, this guy just needs help. Now, I'm not saying that with all this Daniel Jones becomes an all-pro quarterback, but this is going to give him a shot. Right? It's going to give him a shot.
Right.
If he doesn't
Right.
pan out, then they know full well that it's time to find somebody else.
Frequent show contributor Dan Campbell says he needs a freeway, I guess. He's talking about Saquon. But we do have a question in the chat from you from Roldy Lewis. He asked you what your thoughts are on the Giants draft picks. He joined us a little bit late. So, Roldy, I'd say go back and watch what he said earlier. But I will make a specific request from that question. Who do you think is the guy from that Giants draft that we'll be talking about in 10 years?
Oh, Thibodeau. 100% Thibodeau.
Okay.
He has a, because again, like you were talking about, Beard, we don't really know, right, in terms of how these guys are going to be. It's all about chance, right? You're just rolling the dice, but all their odds aren't the same, right? Thibodeau has a better chance of being great, being great than Azure, right? It's just different odds. Thibodeau among all these guys has the best chance of being an all-pro level player. He has everything you're looking for. It's just, will it translate, and can he maintain it? And not just in terms of mental stuff, but injury history, changes of coaching staff, of schemes, stuff that's completely outside of his control, which unfortunately is kind of how it goes sometimes. It's rarely ever the player that busts. It's usually the circumstance or the team that busts on the player.
Awesome. Well, Matt, I really appreciate you taking the time. You said 10 minutes about 5 minutes ago. Did anybody
Yeah, so we got 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So I got
Hey, you gonna take advantage,
you
baby.
know, 5 minutes left. So all right, I got a question that everybody is dying. I don't know if you touched on the Wandale Robinson conversation, Shakes. Did you do that yet?
You
He
touch on it.
did a
Go ahead.
tad. He did a tad.
A tad. Okay. For those of us that when we heard his name from announced at the podium, and I'm like all over Twitter with the face that I made when I heard it, right? Thank you, Sportsbid. Um, tell us something that we are going to get in this kid. I mean, I know personally, but a lot of people don't watch college football. A lot of people don't analyze guys, break down film. I'm one of those guys that do that, but you obviously get paid to do it. You know much more than me. I'm just a guy. Tell us something that we can expect from this kid to make Giants fans understand that we made the right pick at the second round in the draft.
So I'll start saying, you don't have to be paid to know what this kid's good at. It's
Thank you, Rody.
It's just after the catch with the ball in his hands, this kid's explosive, and like that. If you are a fan of the sport, you will see that immediately. He is an absolute playmaker as a runner. Just full on yak. So that is what you have to be excited for. He's super agile. Like he's like like you see like the old school highlights of like people throwing punches at Muhammad Ali and just missing. Like,
right.
That's like him in a phone booth. You could be right next to him and you could just miss him. Just unfortunately, the only problem is he's very small. He doesn't have the kind of deep speed that you'd be expecting from a player of that size. And his route running is not up to par yet. But like he's ready to make an impact year one. Is it 400 snaps impact? Probably not. Is it 40 targets impact? Probably not. But it's enough to where you'll see him play, especially if he's along on the roster.
My comparative for him is Randall Cobb.
That's not a bad one. So I said poor man's Tony because he the Tony does is not at the level that he does.
Got you.
So we have we have JROC in for probably the last question of the evening. JROC, thanks for showing up.
What's going on, fellas?
What's up?
What's going on,
What's going on, Rock?
I don't know what the conversation was, so you have to fill me in.
We were talking about an NFL draft, JROC, and he just answered the question that he had about our second round draft pick, wide receiver. But he did talk about, I asked him 10 years, best player. He thinks Kayvon Thibodeau. So quite a bit of stuff.
Yeah, a lot.
So were you just talking about Wandale and
Yes.
KT? Are they similar as far as skill set?
Him and Tony?
Yeah.
In terms of things that they will do immediately, yes. It's just Tony's a more polished route runner. He's a better athlete. He's more explosive. Wandale's just a toned down version of that, and also smaller.
Gotcha.
So it's unfortunate. I think I really like Tony, man. I hope they can fix this and keep him around because I think he'd be a player that he's like Cruz-esque with the ball in his hands. Because I was at that Jet game Christmas Day. Oh, was it Christmas Day or was it the day before Christmas where he had that 99-yard touchdown against the Jets?
Yes.
And a player like that, and you see all the highlights of these receivers going deep, and that's awesome. And obviously, that's a huge part of the game, intermediate and deep passing level. But a receiver that can take a drag route or a slant route and bring it 80 yards, that's a game changer, man. It's a game changer. And Tony's one of those guys. I think it was this game against Ole Miss where he broke 5 tackles on a single play for a touchdown. I hope the Giants can reconcile that relationship because he's really good. Unfortunately, though, it doesn't seem that's going to happen.
Was that the play when he changed directions 4 times from the middle of the field over to the sideline, back to the middle, made about 6 guys miss?
That's
and carried himself to the end zone.
There was the play I'm thinking of. He does a little cut, little slant in, shakes a tackle, and then there are 5 dudes about to
right, and they corral him. He
goes right through him.
Right,
and it's almost like Madden glitch. You would throw your controller at the wall. That doesn't happen in real life. Kadarius Toney.
So Matt, just one final thing. So you're convinced, just based on what you've heard through the grapevine, that the Giants are going to move on from Kadarius Toney.
The pick of Wandell pretty much to me said that this is done.
So sometime next year, it's not going to be this
I
year.
would say it sometime between now and start of camp.
Oh wow!
Maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I think start of camp. Maybe if we get into the season, honestly, I hope it gets if we get to camp and he's holding out, it just becomes a problem. Like it's just because you don't want him on the roster holding out, causing an issue or distraction with a new. So not saying his fault. If he wants to leave, I get it. Especially if the coaching staff doesn't see a need for him. But if he's just hanging out there, that's the only thing writers are going to talk about for the first few weeks.
I got one more question for you because I don't see how this is going to happen. The Giants got 11 draft picks. How on earth are they going to sign all these draft picks? In your opinion?
Oh, they will. No, it's not that bad.
Somebody got to go. Somebody got to go.
You just said Kadarius Toney might be one of those guys, JROC. So
listen, they'll all get signed. Will they make the 53? That's questionable. Now you'll maybe see some guys on the practice squad in the end, but they'll all get signed initially. And I would say of the 11, I think if 9 or 8 make it to 53, that'd be good.
All right. Well, before we let you go, take us away with this. We got some undrafted free agents. Is there any one of them that really will lobby for a roster spot? And thank you again for stopping by on the Shakedown, man. We really appreciate it. And
no problem,
hope that you can come back.
So I haven't dove too much into it, but I will say the guy Jeremiah Hall. Jeremiah Hall would be the one I would actually lobby for. He's an athlete, man. He's a receiving type tight end, and the tight end we got, Bellinger, is more of a blocker than anything else. Not a super athlete. Like Hall, I'm gonna pull it up because I want to make sure I get it right. Hall's receiving grade for PFF was somewhere in the 90s, 90.2. Now it was limited. I think it was like 32 catches. But right now, the Giants really lack like a true receiver, a tight end, whether it's a tight end line up as a wing or a tight end as a fullback or even inline or slot or wherever. They just really don't have one. They have Ricky Seals-Jones and Atkins, but like I wouldn't call any of those guys, on the rise. Those are guys coming down in their career. So that's a spot that the Giants desperately need, is a receiving tight end. So he would be one that I could see lobbying for a spot.
Matt, thank you so much for coming on the Shakedown. Once again, if you want to follow Matt, it's at Stopsky on Twitter. And his new podcast, or you're back in the game, is the Up and Smoke podcast. Hope Cheech and Chong don't come after you for that one.
If they want to, it's fine. I got plenty of weed.
My man.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate it, Matt. Thank you again for coming on. Yeah.
No problem. Listen, thanks so much for having me on, guys. It was a blast.
Yo, thanks, Matt, for everything, man. I'll definitely make sure that I watch the podcast, and when you take a Q&A, you bet your life I'll be able to ask my questions.
My DMs are open, man. Just shoot me a question anytime you want.
I got you, man. Thank you so much again.
Later, guys.
Yep. See you, Matt. Hopefully you got some followers. So I don't know if you guys saw, Dash came in, Vauxhall to the Bay. He said he
was talking about
your boy Wandell to be the next Percy Harvin. I would just say this. Yeah. I would like him to be Percy Harvin without the injury problems. So,
but that's what KT was predicted to be like. That was his comparative coming in. Yep. KT's Harvin? Comparative was Percy Harvin. Everybody in the whole world.
Yeah.
So Dash says he's got to put. You guys can't see it, but I can put people's chat comments on the screen. So
I seen it the whole time in the interview. That was awesome. That was great.
Oh, see you, JROC. If you're I'll take you out of the stream. I can, and guys, I can keep 1,000 people in the studio and bring people in. So I think the rule of thumb is, and we'll just talk about this as we progress as a show. If you're not going to come on and ask a question, I'll put JROC back on. Just have your camera off and muted, and you can turn that on. You know, you guys got all that control. You can turn that on whenever, and we can bring people in and out. Now, I didn't pop in and out since I just thought it would be overly distracting, but I don't even have to be in the stream at times. So just when we started, it was just me and Shake. So I was like, well, I'm not just going to let Shakes go in there by himself because I think he was expecting a few more people right away. But Nacho showed up. I'm sorry, Nacho was here too. So yeah, anyway, man, we're working out the kinks. If we had a pre-show meeting and you were there, I would have had on cue that photo and whenever they show you your reaction to the because honestly, man, I will never forget that from that draft. That will be my favorite part of that
It's
draft.
classic. It's classic.
And the meme of the guy running and you guys laughing.
Yo.
You know what, guys? I think here's the bottom line. Every fucking year we hear, oh, this team won the draft, this team won the draft. And by the time the season comes, you forget, unless it's like, oh, yeah, they did have a good draft. But like, look, the Ravens weren't a playoff team last year, just like us. They missed. You know, I think the Steelers ended up winning that division at 9-8 or whatever. They ended up being in it. So
yeah, but the Ravens was hit with a ton of injuries in preseason at running back that destroyed their running game.
Yeah.
And then Lamar Jackson getting hurt on top of that just took.
Oh,
We lost
lose
him.
E?
Yeah, we lost him.
We lost E.
But, thank you, Dan Cam, man. He said
Some
great stuff. We
what-
evolving.
Oh,
Yeah, you
winners?
yeah.
Yo, we had.
Yeah,
Hey, you got the Boost Mobile problem going on. I don't know.
Nah,
if
somebody
right
tried
now.
to call me, bro. You know how we got to decline calls. For some reason, whenever we do these great interviews, it's always somebody that wants to call one of us.
Well, let me
all the
say
time.
this, guys. If you can get on a computer with a hard line, that is key. I'm just telling you, for setup wise, like Shakes, I can't barely see you, dude. You got your lighting is shit. E, I can barely see you. JROC, your shit is tight. Everything is good, but I can tell you're on a phone.
I just turned on the light.
Plenty of light, but
That kind of made me feel like now I need to go into the light now. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
Like
guys,
that done got to my life. Like,
Hey.
let me get in the light.
So here's what I'll tell you guys. I have overhead light on, but I have 2 ring lights in my face all the time. Okay. Yeah, I know I'm a pasty white boy, but it's still like Shakes. I can't see you hardly because you have the tree. Now, if you slide to the left or the right a little bit, I can see you better. Like if you push yourself in front of that door a little bit, I can see you.
How I'm doing now?
You look great
good,
now. If you just started there, 100% look better. Now, I would say this: the hat is shading your eyes.
That's what I wanted to do because in case I had to say something that hurt my feelings, I had to make a different face.
That's okay.
So let me just that's all. We good.
Yeah,
I got
we
you.
don't need to talk about this on the stream. We can literally talk about this after the fact. So we can
All right,
end the
cool.
stream. Do you guys have any closing thoughts for the stream and the draft? Or
Yeah, man. Right here. This is what it's all about. Right here. Right here. That's it.
JROC, what's up, brother? What do you got?
And Shane, we trust. That's all we can say, man.
That's a
You gotta
fact.
trust his decisions.
By the way, JROC, we got to talk about this on the stream. Did you see what's going on, Chris Pettit?
Yeah, he talked about it at the beginning of the show. You missed both you and
The scouting and evaluating department, bro.
They cut him.
Yeah. JROC, they fired all their front office staff.
We talked about it.
Just like I wanted them to.
What did we say though, JROC? We said how many days will it take, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Monday after.
It's gonna happen. I knew it was gonna happen. I just didn't know when.
Right.
Well, I think it's a good sign for New York Giants fans. The only thing I would like to see happen more is Mara to sell the team. But outside of that, that's probably a bridge too far.
Yeah, I was about to say
that's probably never going to happen. I would love to see that happen.
Like that's the prayers that we have on a Sunday with our family, right after we tithe.
Yeah. Well, hey, we can end the stream and we can continue to talk about like nitnoid details of the show. This is the last time we have to broadcast from this channel. We will be broadcasting from the Shakedown YouTube channel next time. I will make sure I tweet all those links out. And I'm now a part of the group chat and all that, so you guys can message me if you have questions. But with very little lead time, I can get on here and get a pretty good show going on for the YouTube. Now we just have to build the followers for the Shakedown on YouTube.
You see how sports brought us all into the light, Shakes? We didn't ran into the light.
Right.
You see it?
The Shakes, I can see you. It's just better.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I wasn't going to critique you when the show is going. I mean, we're at the end of the show, but let me end the broadcast and we could stay on. Thank you for joining the Shakedown crew. Check us out on our new YouTube channel very, very soon.